Black Cat Lounge is sponsored by Paranormal Oddities, the little store with the big heart, Dragonfly Art and Soul, Paraniagara, where the real ghosts of Lockport hang out, Wild Raven Candles for those magical times, Queen of Tarts, Metaphysical and Bake Shop. Hey everybody, welcome back on a Tuesday night. Where else would you want to be? It's freezing out. It's always freezing out. Well, maybe not. Wait a minute. I think it might have been thawing by now. I'm not sure. You know, here in Western New York, we couldn't tell you anymore if it's cold or if it's hot or what. To us, let's see, a balmy 24 degrees makes us sweat, and minus 20 makes us put on an extra pair of underwear. That's just the way it works here. And tonight I have to say that I do have an extra set of underwear on. I will show you later on in the show, I promise. No, I won't. Are you kidding me? Nobody wants to see that. Anyway, you're here at the Black Cat Lounge. I'm your most congenial host, Tim Shaw. We've got a great show for you tonight, as always. And you know what? It's so great that you guys are hanging out. Today's a pre-record show because our guest is insanely busy. He's out there, he's out there filming. He's out there being a bon vivant. He's out there creating things. He's making snowmen, and he's eating apple pie and drinking cider. This is what he does. This is the important things in life that he does. So he graciously said, I'll do a pre-record for you, Tim, because why? When we were up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, when we were way up north, I forget what time it was. I think it was probably midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. And my tummy was rumbling. So I went up to the snack bar at this event we were at, and I got a pizza. And, I'm going to be honest with you. Back in the day, when I was in my 40s, I could have killed this pizza. I could have destroyed this pizza. Not anymore, man. Not anymore. And I am ashamed to say it because I am out of eating shape. This man is not, but I am. So I was able to share my pizza with my guest tonight, and of course the lovely Chris Williams, who was she just kind of was wandering by, and it was like, here, you want a slice? Hang out. So anyway, without further ado, I want to bring a good friend of mine onto the show. He's an alumni of Ghost Hunters International. He is on Ghost Hunters, the new show, the modern version of it, which we all know and love. He's an inspirational speaker. He's a motivational master of like chaos. I love this man because what he does is, I don't know where he's got these skin pockets, and and they're like underneath his clothes, and he'll just reach in and he'll pull out something that's so motivational, it just shocks you. And you sit there and you go, he's right. He's right. And that's like what's scary about him. He's an author, and let me get his books out here so that I don't screw it up. I have my little notepad. We do have What's Next. We have Kaleidoscope, Fragments of My Life, and The Devil Smile, and The Complete Approach to Scientific and Metaphysical Guides to the Paranormal. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please welcome the one, the only, the effervescent, the iridescent, the man with the beautiful hair. And I used to, and listen, there's only two people in the paranormal that truly have beautiful hair. Nick Groff is one, of course, but this guy it's just not beautiful hair. It's cultured hair. It is like, if you look at it too long in the mirror, you may turn to stone. So let's welcome my buddy Dustin Pari to the show tonight. Dustin, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mr. Shaw. The check is in the mail for that lovely introduction, sir.
Listen,
Thank you.
You know what? Anybody that I catch eating candy corn at 7 a.m. on a flight.
You want to keep yourself fueled, you know?
I'll
Good,
never,
good.
Dust. I'll never forget that. I turned around and we were in the back. Of course, Dustin and I, we get the VIP seats
Yeah, the best.
next to the bathroom in
Mhm.
the tail
Right in the
section,
back.
way in the back. And I turned around, I looked over, and there's this man. He is just like, he's got this little container of candy corn, and he's
Yep.
like looking around and he's eating it. 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, this man is hardcore.
I am
He's a candaholic. That's what
I
he
am
is.
living the dream of some sort.
we're all,
So what?
Dustin, we're all living the dream. Ain't that
Yes.
the truth?
Nightmares are dreams too, Mr. Shaw.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mhm.
Very, very much so. Dust, hey, listen, I got to ask you, man.
Yeah.
So many people always like to know one of the number one things whenever I say that you're going to come on the air, they want to know what is well, actually, it's a twofold question.
All right.
What is the scariest case you've ever been on, and what is your favorite location that you've ever been to? So it's kind of a twofold question. I'm going to throw that right at you.
All right. Yeah. Let's just dive right into the deep end. Let's see. So, and this is not a statement of any bravado or anything. I don't I don't get scared a lot on cases, mainly because, as you know, like you're there looking for this type of activity. However, I am someone that I don't do well with like haunted attractions, like haunted houses, that kind of thing, because
Yep.
I don't like that pop out scary moment. So, what's nice about dealing with the spirit world is, usually these things kind of appear kind of slowly. Once in a while, you get a loud bang or something like that might startle you. But for the most part, things are very subtle in the way they come about. But one of the things that frightens me the most on doing any case is I do not like long hallways with a bunch of open doorways. So anytime we're in like an old hospital or a prison, it takes me forever to move about because I have to kind of edge forward slowly and look in every doorway to make sure there's not. And again, it's not like the paranormal thing, but a lot of these places have been abandoned, or people break into them, or there's people down on their luck looking just to get out of the weather, and they kind of hunker down in there. And we've come across people that just vagrants just trying to get through. We've come across people that have had weapons on them. We've come across people that were unfortunately in there doing drugs and these kind of things. So you never know what might be in one of those doors. So I do
Yep.
not do well with that, no matter what the location is. Long hallways with lots of doorways are terrifying to me. So I take a very long time in investigating those just to move about. But in terms of favorite place, this is kind of a twofold thing for me too, right? Because they're both from pivotal points in my investigation and my own research. The first is going to be the St. Augustine Lighthouse, which all the lighthouses are gorgeous, just as they are. But I think it was season 2 with Ghost Hunters when we were first going around, 2 or 3, and we go to St. Augustine, Florida, and we do that lighthouse. And for years before this, I was just investigating here locally in Rhode Island, Massachusetts. My buddies, people after work, random people, and we go check out places. But in my origin story, coming from seeing a shadow figure as a kid to all these years of going to these buildings, not seeing anything because it's rare you do, to finally being in that lighthouse and not just hearing, but seeing this woman's apparition at the top of the lighthouse inside walking around. I mean, I could see the pleats in her dress, I could see the curls in her hair. And on the show, all you see is kind of like this white kind of moving object. My IR was dying on the camera. We didn't have a lot of light, but man, it was beautiful. And so that was just very special to me because it really gave me a lot of understanding. And also, it comforted me because after so many years go by, after your first, witnessing of something and then not seeing anything else, you start to question yourself. You wonder, did I really see something? Like maybe it could have been this or that. But then to see something so clearly really cemented, for me, I'm like, okay, the other side is definitely real. Whatever this is, there's something going on. And then the other side of that is going to Ireland when we did, it was still Ghost Hunters. It was kind of like the jump off point to do Ghost Hunters International. And that's going to Lep Castle, which the Irish people are so wonderful. It's like being in a fairy tale over there. I really loved it. But to be in Lep Castle and people have seen the episode, something knocked me straight to the ground. What you don't see on the episode is that I was actually standing still when it happened. They weren't filming us when it happened. They were trying to get some cutaway shots and B-roll. And Tango and I were just standing there, just kind of, waiting for the operator, the camera operator. So they kind of spliced it together with my handheld camera point of view going to the ceiling, and an earlier shot of me walking toward the back of the chapel. But that was the moment that really solidified for me my change of approach. Until that point, there was a little bit of cockiness and a lot of the antagonistic approach to investigating. And after that moment, it was much more respectful and thoughtful. And that not only changed my approach to the paranormal, but also just day to day life. So those are the two moments that will always, I think, really mean the most to me out of all the things that I've done thus far.
It's amazing because I think we all get to that point where we get jaded. I mean, I've been around I've been around a couple weeks now, Yeah, really. And you get so used to stuff. You get, and I'm one of the very first ones to admit it. I am so used to hearing the door slam. I'm so used to hearing footsteps.
Mhm.
I'm actually even used to hearing my name being called.
Yeah.
And you know, very seldom do we get anything visually objective that really that you just it takes your breath away.
Hmm.
And I think every once in a while we need that in order to keep us on that straight and narrow. And there's a little place up here called Forsyth Tavern, and it's a private little place and is built in the early 1800s. And we were in the basement, and from behind me, my friend saw a shadow just raise up. And I was
Yeah.
leaning on like the sanitary sink. So like there's nothing nothing behind me. And it came straight up behind my head. And it's the first time I can actually say that he was just like stunned. And when it hit, it even stunned me because now it's almost like I needed that. I needed that charge. I needed
Right.
that charge to do that. You know,
Yeah.
and your book, and I want to touch on this,
Yeah.
the complete guide. Now
Oh yeah.
you have a methodology, and tell everybody a little bit about this methodology because of the fact, again, as both of us, we've, what, there, you guys, everybody out there, if we could one day, I'm just going to put a recorder down on the table or when we're sitting next to each other on a plane and just let everybody go and listen to, well, not everything. I'm
Not
not going
everything.
to, I'm going to heavily edit it out, but I'm going to put the good stuff out there where,
Yeah.
we're talking about the esoteric, and we're talking about metaphysical
Hmm.
and different approaches to what we do. Your approach now, explain to everybody how you approach the the paranormal. I'm just going to use, and you know what, and as well as I do, how I've said I hate using that word
Yeah.
paranormal, but because everything is natural and normal in nature, but it's just I can't think of a better word to do it. So how do you look at it?
It's constantly evolving. As you know, the more you do the stuff, the more you start to learn new things, and it kind of changes your perspective quite a bit. When Barry and I wrote the complete approach, we wanted to show people not just the scientific standard of the time of documenting or trying to document of research of spiritual research, but also show the importance to have reverence for the metaphysical side of it. And I can appreciate, it's funny, people are like, oh, we love you guys because you do it scientifically. It's like, yeah, we have things that light up and beep. Like we're not quite, but I can appreciate it. Like, we don't just we try to spend time, when I'm working with the TAPS team, we try to spend time to find rational explanation for things, try to disprove stuff more than just prove things. It's not even proving or disproving, but it's just having a legit and honest understanding of what's going on around you. And you're new in a building, and they don't show this on the programs a lot, but you're new in a building, and Tim, like, you need to sit and listen for a while. Just sit quiet and do nothing. Don't ask any questions. Don't do anything. Like, listen to the environment, learn what all the little noises and natural creaks and pops are of the building, and then kind of go from there. But I think it's important to always have reverence for the other side and whatever's unseen that might be there. And I don't think it needs to be fear. I think fear is the wrong word for it. I just think you need to show reverence. You need to show kindness. And I always tell people, I treat it like the ultimate blind date because you literally can't see them most of the time. But like, if you're going to do EVP work, give time for answers. Ask the same question a couple of times. Speak to things that they would be interested in talking about. Like, know your history of the building, of who might be there, so that they might have a comment about something. Like, just talking about yourself or things you care about might not be so interesting to someone who passed away during the Civil War or something like that. And I do believe that an intelligent spirit is around for a while. They're going to learn things, of course. Like, they're observing what's going on. They learn how to manipulate the new equipment. They obviously are aware of what we're doing, and they're aware of changes in their world. That's why. And listen, this is a personal thing. Lord knows we don't all have to sing from the same hymnal. Do your own research, come up with your own ideas. But the "Do you know you're dead" thing is one of the ones that just it really gets to me. It's just like, there's been no bowel movements, there's no sexual activity, there's no bills being paid, there's no work going on. It's not Bruce Willis. They've had to have realized there's something going on. And a lot of people hold on to that trope and they want to pursue it. That's fine, but it's just not for me. It's just not for me, and that's okay. We can try different things, but I believe that an intelligent spirit that's been around, they're aware of what's going on, and I don't think it's some news break to them that they're not living like we are now. I also personally don't believe that spirits are trapped, and I know that some may linger more than others, some may visit more than others. These are my understandings. I don't think a loving God or goddess or whoever is in charge at the time would ever put a lock on the afterlife and be like, "Nope, you stay there." But I do know, as a father and stuff, like if something happened to me, I'd really want to keep an eye on my daughter. So I probably, wouldn't spend too much time back and forth. I also think time is different as we pass on. Time isn't like it is for us with these 24-hour days and all this nonsense. So you have to have an understanding that what they're going through and what their life is like in the afterlife is not like ours. There's no 24-hour days. You don't need to punch in and out. I really feel that a lot of the things like haunted objects, haunted places are just kind of like touchstones. They're just points where they kind of come and go where they want. And what better example do we need than just how we live our own lives, right? Like, how many times have you driven past your old school or the place you met your wife, or these things are important to us, and even though we're not dead, they're not that far removed from us. We still go and visit them now that we're still here. So don't tell me that after you've passed away, you wouldn't be like, it'd be great if I could go check out that ice cream shop my family and I used to go to by the lake all the time in the summer. And you just go there for a moment or two, and maybe
Mhm.
you flicker in and out. And there's stories about quantum physics and string theory where they get into like the slices of time and maybe how they sometimes overlap here and there. I think that does explain maybe some residual things. But I do think that whoever's in charge of the afterlife doesn't not allow us visitation. And I think that's why a lot of times when we're going through something difficult in this life, a loved one may show up or find a way to communicate with us to kind of give us a little bit of peace. And so I think all these things are important. And for me, when I go to approach an investigation, I like to know a little bit about my subject matter. I like to try. I love doing this. They don't show it on the show because of copyright, but I love playing music from the time period because I hear a song from my childhood, man. I remember like what I was sitting in the back of my mother's car. We were leaving school, and I heard Bobby McFerrin for the first time. Like, I remember those moments. Music brings you back to those things. So before I do an investigation, a lot of times I just sit and play music from that time period and just try to create an environment where maybe somebody would want to come forward and talk to us instead of like working them over under the lights with, "Do you know you're dead? What year is it? What happened to you? Are you happy? Are you sad?" And enough of the gloom and doom train. "Oh, you're trapped and you're sad. Oh, there's demons." It's like, come on, man, just stop it. But I don't
I
know.
s-
But again,
See. I agree with you. This
well,
whole thing.
I
I mean,
appreciate it. You don't have to, but like people can have their own ideas. But
but
you
but
know,
it kills me because of the fact it's like, first of all, everything is negative. I
mhm.
mean, I run into these people all the time, and it's like, someone over here is this and the trapped and all this other stuff, and there's a demon in your basement. The only demon in my basement is what's in my stomach right now, and waiting to roar its way out. That's the only demon I have that's in my stomach. But I'm gonna it just drives me up the wall because so many people go and they don't understand that more you get more responses with something that's positive. You get more responses with with something that's familiar rather than always going and saying, why are you here haunting these people? Well, it could be Aunt Bessie hanging out,
Right. It's a lot of perception on behalf of whoever's experiencing it. And if there's someone that's, and you can't fault, anyone that only knows what they know based on what they've seen on TV or in movies
Right.
or in books. Most of that stuff is always skewed toward the negative, just like regular news and stuff like that. I worked for CBS and Fox for like 7 years, and everything is negative. It's gloom and doom. It
Exactly.
leads. It leads. It's funny. Like I joke with people. I'm like, they come to events and I'm like, you guys all write on Facebook how you love and light and peace and happiness. And then as soon as you go to an investigation, it's gloom and doom and darkness and demons and pain and hate. It's just like, you get what you bait your hook for in this life and in
You're
dealing
right.
with another life. But yeah, there are negative things out there. But for the love of God, I've been doing this since I was 15. So this is 30 years. And yeah, I get like a cantankerous little spirit once in a while who doesn't want to be bothered. But for the most part, I'd say the high percentage of anything I've come across has always been very positive, a lot of fun. I get ones that like to joke around a lot, and it's great, And it's just like this life, like how you present yourself, you attract other people on that same vibration, right? And so
Right.
if you go into an investigation and all you do is negative, 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 there's no surprise if that's what you're going to get. But you also may be just
Exactly.
misinterpreting things. Like you said, it could be just Aunt Bessie just like opening the cabinet, like just trying to be helpful. And people are like, what the hell? There's a demon. He hates cabinets. Like, who
Uh,
knows, man? I don't know. But
I get that, and Dust, I get that all the time. I really do. I get that all the time, and I think this is one of the main reasons I don't do cleanup work anymore. I
mhm,
cleanse, but I
yeah,
don't do the cleanup work anymore because too many people go in there and they go and they right away it's negative and this and that and you need to do this and or else this will happen to you. And I really have a problem with that because I walk in there now, these poor people are scared. They got preconceived notions.
mhm,
They're people I've been on these investigations where certain investigators will go and tell them that there are demons in the house and they should go to church and things of that nature. And
right,
I'm like,
yeah,
no, don't tell them this because in order to go and properly, even like when I was a kid, as a reader, I was always taught, always empower the person that comes to you for a reading. Always empower them. Never end on a negative note because what you do, your words influence their thinking and their vibration.
yeah,
So you want to bring them up. And even if it can be a nasty haunting, you want to be able to go and let them handle it. Let them learn how to handle it. Let them kind of take the fear away from it.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
what you want. And
yeah,
yeah, you know what? I've been scratched. I've been pushed.
yeah,
Excuse me, Dustin. In my vernacular, big effing deal. You know what I mean? It's part of the job. It
yeah.
comes with it.
Right, but it's less often than not, right? Like it
Oh,
doesn't usually happen. It's a
you know what? I can count on one hand all the times that I've really been scratched or poked or
yeah,
whatever. I mean, I've
right,
been touched a lot, or
yeah,
top of my head has been rubbed or something.
right,
They think I'm, from the Three Stooges,
yeah, that's right.
you know,
Curly,
but
yeah,
but I mean,
absolutely.
really, but people
No.
don't get that. People,
One of the cases that I did here was actually just north of here in Massachusetts. I get an email sent to me, and I try to do local cases when I can, but it's a day job and filming everything. It's tough. But this one, the gentleman wrote to me, husband. He's like, my wife has been experiencing things around the house. I've experienced a couple of things. He's like, and she contacted XYZ local medium and sent a picture of the house. And this medium told her that it's inhabited by a low level demon, and for X amount of dollars, they will exercise.
oh,
And
oh,
and I knew the name. I was like, do not give that person any money. I said, this is absolute nonsense. I'm like, they're not looking at a picture and telling you have a demon in your house. And my buddy Cody. You know Cody very
hmm
well.
oh
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, Cody Desbians. For those that don't know him, you've probably seen him on Ghost Hunters with Satori. I called Cody. We found a day to go up there. We went, maybe did 4 or 5 visits at the place, and they had legit activity, and it was very interesting activity. But nothing that was evil, nothing that was demonic. And I don't know how you put a price on low level demonics versus upper level. I don't know. But I was like, don't give them a dime. We're not going to cost you a dime. We're just going to come up and take care of it and look at it. And it was empowering the people from day one, letting them know that, listen, like, this other stuff you've been told, like, take it with a grain of salt. Let us take a look first. And this is still your house. It's your place. And we're able to kind of give them some peace, over several investigations. But it
Right,
takes a little
right.
time.
People don't get that. And, and by going and giving them the tools to exist. And you know what? This whole thing, the bargaining, all that, all the fancy. Remember, you remember the way back when, before taps actually went on the air. There
Mhm.
was a big thing about bargaining, and we'll split the house up. You can stay up in
Yeah.
the attic, and
My space,
no,
your space. Yeah.
right? That was and
Like an
and
80s sitcom. We'll
not
put
to
a
be
piece of
funny.
tape, down the middle of the room. You stay over there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's gonna work. Yeah, that's gonna work. I mean, even in a lot of the spiritualist circles, I mean, that was a lot of things that we were taught as
Yeah.
as a kid, and it's just like working with people. You have to be able to go and kind of just express to them and kind of figure out what's going on and why. And
Right.
so many times, as well as I do, it's a person that lived in the house, that loved the house, or
Yeah.
one of their relatives. And if there is legitimate stuff that could be construed, and I've been to places where that there's some nastiness going on,
Right.
look at the history, do your homework, because these people, it kills me. Do you know how many paranormal investigators say, I make sure my team does not know anything about this house or anything about what happened? And to me, that's wrong, because now you're not letting and I know a lot of people, I'm gonna get email on this one,
Yeah.
Dustin.
Yeah.
Send it to me. Don't send it to my buddy Dustin. Send it to me. See these shoulders, they're broad today. They can handle it. But you're not equipping your team members, or even, somebody else going in there with the right questions to ask
Yeah.
to try to get to the bottom of it. Yes, I go on and do, like when I was doing Portals to Hell and some of the other shows, I'd go in cold.
Right.
That
But
that
that's
was
a different thing. I mean, if you're doing a psychic or medium thing, you want to come in and do the cold reading to try
right.
to see if you can pick up on who's there. But if we have an idea of who might be there and we want to conduct questioning to find out what's going on or why, you have to do your research. You need to know who it is or why they might
Exactly.
be
Exactly.
there.
The
Yeah.
other thing is that this is my own theory. This is my own theory, Dustin. I know that other people have come up with it. So, but this is something that I formed, working with the Hinsdale House up here, and you've been up there.
Oh yeah. Great.
And I always remember the first time my buddy Joe Piari and I went up there in 2011. We had done all the research. I had talked to everybody that I could possibly talk to. I read the woman's book who had lived there. I had interviewed her twice.
Mhm.
So we got a chance to go up there because they were going to bulldoze it. So we're just going to go up there and videotape it, and so we go up there, and do you know what? The house did not disappoint. First of all, it was still charged because it wasn't like, you know, every weekend there wasn't a group or anything in there. It was abandoned basically.
Yeah.
So it was off the hook. The activity was off the hook, and knockings on command, this whole thing. But on the way there, my buddy Joe and I talked about the place. And I should have thought to myself, what do you expect? Thoughts are things. It's the way that we're taught. They're vibrational in nature.
Right.
This location, what do you expect? If there's intelligence there, whether it be entities or the location itself, don't you think you're projecting this stuff out and it's giving you what you expect? Now, just to test this theory out, I've been up there. I've stayed overnight. I go up there, not expecting a thing.
Yeah.
All I care about is stopping at this barbecue place on the way down there in Hinsdale, and then I eat there, and then
Yeah.
I go up. Do you know what? Almost nothing happens. So a lot of times, if you expect something, it's going to give it to you,
Yeah.
and people aren't putting two and two together. So
Right.
you got to kind of you got to balance your information and your knowledge.
Right. And
You know,
yourself.
yeah, and have a goal. Why are you doing it? This
Yeah.
is not. And I'm with you. I don't like haunted houses. I don't like the quote unquote stuff that jumps out at me because I
Yeah,
mean I got bounce. I might be old, but I still got bouncer reflexes. I just
yeah.
N- Nancy who's 5'1" comes running out at me, out of a closet or something. I jump back and I got the fists all cocked
Yep,
and
me
everything,
too. I do the same thing.
you know. And
It's
you know
the
what?
combination
But
of it.
but you know, a lot of times they don't have goals. They're just up there. Well, I'm just going to see what I can get,
Yeah,
or I want something to go on, and that sucks
right.
because you got to have a goal in mind. And I think that's where
Yeah,
a lot of these teams are falling short. So
I,
we need to go and we need to kind of just balance it all. They have this
mhm.
beautiful balance, and it's tough, and it's tough to go. And we're preaching to the choir, you and I, about that.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, but the more you do it, the more you start to figure that balance out, and it's very important to realize that thoughts have weight, and that will contribute to your experience. And we talk about like manifest destiny, and it's not like, hey, I want $1 million, and all of a sudden it's there in your kitchen, but you can guide your path, just like you can
right,
guide what you're looking for there. If people say like you're looking to see an orange car, and all of a sudden you start to notice them more because you've trained yourself to look for that kind of thing. But when it comes to going on an investigation, it's good. I think personally, again, I think it's good to know a bit of the history of the place, a history of the people that were there, know
hmm
what type of activity is going on, so you know what to look for. But balance it. Don't have tunnel vision where you only look for that. Leave it open that any spirit or whoever might be there can communicate with you. Don't only just ask for Sally, 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 but,
exactly.
but at least know a couple of names or phrases or things that would pertain to people that were legitimately tied to the place, so you can try to see if that avenue works. If the avenue proves not to give you anything, then you can try other things too. That's fine, But and I've also noticed, like in the group investigations, when we do like the events and stuff, you be in like the same room for like 5 hours. Two groups, no offense to them, suck. Like, and like everything was going crazy, and then they come in and like, and everywhere they go throughout the night, down, down,
Yep.
down. It's not
Yes.
even a whole group. Sometimes it's one person who is just squelches it right out. They hate this. They're not into it. They get dragged there, and sometimes it works the other way, where something will try to show itself to that person. But sometimes they're such powerful, little manipulators of the environment, that it kind of blocks everything out, and you can see
Exactly.
throughout the night the energy level of the people that are surrounded by that person. They all start to dip down, and then that's it. You might as well just
Yep.
go home, get a pizza, like you're done.
But that's exactly it. But you know what? When we start talking about that, this is almost the second part that I want to bring up is your motivational and inspirational speaking, because that all, to me, that all goes hand in hand with the positive our positive ways of looking at the paranormal, but also the positive ways of which we need to go and bring ourselves up bodily. I don't, and you know as well as I do, we live in a society that is just, we are, you watch the news and every second commercial is all about you know lawyers and all this and that.
Yeah,
You watch something that, and again, thank you guys for supporting all these shows, but you know you know, erectile dysfunction,
and
type
parent
2
commercial.
oh
Any,
yeah, type
any
2 diabetes, uh, what was that, poopery, so that your poop doesn't stick.
right?
These are commercials that are out there. And a lot of times we're bombarded by all of this and being
Yeah,
negative. So what happens is that our lives are become we I think we become tired. And it's like, I won't say our souls get tired, but I will say that, you know, psychically, when I say psychically, I mean here, what's going on in the gray matter, we get tired and we get beaten down.
hmm,
And what is so important is that we need that push. And it's external, because internally, I mean, I can read 1,001 Buddhist books and I can read
yeah,
1,001 self-help books. But if I don't see it, if I don't experience it, where it's external, where somebody else is speaking, I don't get that same inspiration. And is that why? Let me ask you, what was the reason why you got into inspirational, motivational speaking?
So back in the day of MySpace, long before
Oh,
Facebook
oh
introduced,
boy.
when I was on the international show, um, every once in a while we'd have a hotel that had internet, because not all of them even did then. And if you did, it was usually like plugged in, dial up, so it took forever. But fans of the show would write with questions and things, and I did my best to always answer, and I appreciate people watching. But every once in a while, I would get a question from somebody either about like their love life or their job or serious. I mean, not that those things aren't serious, but even more serious matters about like self harm and cutting or suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts. And at first, I was like, why the heck are they writing to me? Like, I walk around in the dark and I say, what was that? Like, what? Why the hell are you writing to me? But I realized even myself, like, I watch a movie or a sitcom, and there are purely fictional characters that for some reason resonate with us. There's something about their personality or the way that character is portrayed where like I feel like that person would get me, or this person I would be friends. And when you're on a reality show, I mean, what more could you do? Like, yours is if you really are just being who you are, there's that connection. And for some reason, people felt that connection. So I didn't take that lightly. So I tried to make sure I wrote back to everybody, always saying, listen, I'm not a therapist. Like, if you need help, that's why I started putting online the number for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention every night. Like, just leave that light on. If you need help, like, here's somebody to call. Like, I'm not your magic feather. I'll do my best to help, but I'm not trained to do such things. But that's kind of where it all kind of started. And then, to be quite honest, over the years, it has transformed quite a bit. And now we've been doing some stuff with Patreon, long form videos. I'm working on straight up motivational books. I do motivational lectures, suicide prevention lectures. So it's really taken on a whole life of its own. And as much as I love the paranormal, I feel like my heart is more in helping the people that we're here with. And listen, it's I look at it this way, and this is why it connects for me. I always tell people in every lecture I do, I believe that we are spirits going through a human existence. I don't believe that we're from here, and I don't believe that we stay here. I think this is kind of like a little like training ground for us to kind of find each other, to laugh with each other when times are good, and to cry together and lift each other up when times are bad. But when we pass away, I think our spirit moves on. But I think our soul circle, like it's written about, like I think kind of stays the same. So so many times, people say, "Oh, I want to help the spirits. I want to help the spirits." Yeah, me too. I want to help the ones that are still here, going through this human existence with us, because this human existence can be a real pain in the ass. Like, to be quite honest, like, it's difficult. It's not an easy thing for us to get through. And for me personally, I a lot of the stuff that I put out there in the more recent times are videos where, yeah, it looks like I'm talking to you. I'm actually just talking to me. A lot of the things that I discuss are me talking myself down from the ledge, and so to speak, or probably want for a much better term than that. But you know what I mean? It's me trying to calm myself down that things aren't always going to be so hectic, so frustrating, or so difficult, and that things are going to be okay. And I realized that as I started to put that out there more and more, it started to connect with more people because I think it is just more real. It's my videos aren't very fancy. There's not a lot of high production value. Most of them now are just me sitting in my truck, just talking to my phone. But it's real, and it's real because I feel that no matter where you are in this world, no matter what age you're at, we all go through similar struggles at one time or another. And I think it's beautiful that we're all broken. I really do. I think it's great that we have all been scarred and broken by this world one way or another. And the reason that happens, the reason that we fight, I believe, the reason that we fight with depression and loneliness is because, quite simply, we're not from here. We're not the things that are important in this world, this plastic material world, are not really important. And the more things that you consume, the more stuff you buy on Amazon, the fancier car you get, the fancier handbag, whatever the heck it is, um, it doesn't matter. And it only fills that void that we feel inside for so long. And it could be things that are negative for us, like alcohol or drug abuse. It could be things that start out as positive. Like, I love going to the gym, but I see people that take that to a whole different level too. And it gets to a point where it's also unhealthy. Physically, maybe you're doing healthy things, but it gets to a point where it's so manipulative that you start to miss out on other parts of your life. Life, as we talked about just with investigation, is about that balance. And I think it's important that we always remember the mind, body, and soul connection, and we need to, as you said, psychically be in a good place of well-being. Emotionally, we need to be in a good, positive place. And spiritually, it's so important, regardless of what God or goddess you believe in. It's important that you know there's more than this. And that's why I chose to work in the paranormal in the first place, because I thought maybe by showing people evidence of the other side, evidence that our energy continues, that our soul persists, maybe they'd start to realize that our soul's here now, and we could treat each other with a little bit more decency and respect and help each other through this life. But we need to keep all those things balanced. Physically, we need to feel well, we need to be well. And it's not an easy balance. And people a lot of times will ask for advice. And when I give it, they say, oh, it's just, if it was just that easy. Yeah, if it was just that easy, you wouldn't be asking me about it. And also, it wouldn't be worth anything. Anytime everything's just given away to you, it's not of value, is it? But if you work hard for it, yeah, it becomes valuable. And it's not easy to be positive and happy every day. People are like, oh, you're so happy all the time. A lot of times I'm not. I just don't choose to put a lot of my misery and stuff out there because it's just not my way. It's okay if other people like to. I don't need a lot of the, or rather, I don't desire a lot of the sympathy of strangers. People in my circle I'll talk to. Tim, you and I have had many a conversation where I'll
Mhm.
call up about something, but I keep my circle small. It's not, my personal struggles aren't for everybody. And other people maybe don't have someone, so they turn to social media, and that's fine too if that's what you need. But it's important that you're heard, and it's important that you get help, and it's important that you find your way through this. And maintaining that balance is not an easy thing, but it's a practice. And it's funny you talked about, the mental realm of it. We are just a product of what we take in, just like nutrition wise. Like if I say, as much as I love my candy corn on a plane at 7:30 in the morning, if all I ate was candy corn, probably wouldn't be the healthiest boy around. Now I may not still be the healthiest boy around, but like I balance out my pizza and pie love with going to the gym for an hour to 2 hours every day. It's a nice little balance for me. And spiritually, I make sure my spiritual life is kept in check. But it's a practice, and positivity is also a practice. Unfortunately, our environment and our culture is one of promoting negativity all the time. And one of the Ivy League schools did a study years ago. It's in one of my Hey Got a Minute videos. I want to say it was, oh, man, I can't remember now. But Penn State comes to mind. I don't know if they're an Ivy League, but anyway, doesn't matter. The rankings and filings of nonsense. But they did a study, and they pointed out that negative stories and negative posts are 3 times more likely to be shared on social media than anything that's positive. And it's absolutely true. Even if you put something out there that's positive, people will hijack it and make it into something else. The other day, I posted a picture, I think it was of my cat Raisin. And like halfway down, someone started writing about Second Amendment laws and these Republicans and their guns. And I'm like, this is a
Oh my
picture of
god.
a cat. The cat has no political agenda. Like, why? Like, don't hijack it and make it into something else. But this is what we do. And you watch the TV shows, and even if you're trying to watch something uplifting or something you enjoy, you got to fast forward the ads because it's gloom and doom. It's, did you ever take this pill and now you have these side effects, or do you need a lawyer, or do you need this? And even a lot of the shows, like I can't even be in the room if there's shows on where people are screaming and yelling at each other. A lot of vulgarity. It messes with my personal, internal resonance. Like I feel like my insides are quivering, like the anxiety that is brought about by that level of angst and screaming, even though it's fake and it's just on a show, it bothers me eternally. And just like how we take in nutrition, the things that we see, the things that we listen to, the things that we hear, that affects our mental well-being and our spiritual state. And so for me, it's avoiding a lot of that stuff. And that's just what works for me. But it's a practice, and it takes
It
time.
is.
You
It
can't
is.
just do it once and be like, "Hey, I'm cured." No, it's you got to stay with it.
Well, people don't realize, I mean, the way that you're brought up and the way that you look at the world is so hard. I mean, I'll be 66 this year, and I'm still suffering from, you know, what my parents,
Yeah.
their viewpoint. And
Hmm.
it's tough. And people don't realize just how tough it is to stay positive. People don't realize, and I'm not saying, I'm not talking, the sappy candy bullshit
Right.
positivity. I'm
I
talking
believe
about
in
really,
you, Inshaw.
yeah. But you know what I mean? You gotta,
Yeah.
it takes work, and it constantly, you have to constantly, you know, watch yourself and catch yourself. But it's possible so that after a while you're able to go and do that. It's
Mhm.
one of the it's one of the basic psychological tools that they teach you in different therapeutic modalities.
Yeah.
How to catch yourself, how to go and readjust and re-educate yourself.
Right.
But I think it's so important that, again, I go back to you, where you go and you put these out there. And I love the fact that you go, listen, I'm in my truck and basically I'm talking myself off the edge. People don't realize that. People again, they don't realize that even the people that they consider the masters of positivity, we all have these problems. We all
Yeah.
have these stresses. We all have this stuff that hits us. I think it's how we react to it. I think it's how we try to react. And our reaction in your case is great because, like with me, I come down here into the basement and I like hide underneath my desk in a fetal position. And, Nancy brings me down a couple slices of pizza and maybe I'll come up by 10, you know, but, but, you know, with you, it's great because when you face these things and you're bringing yourself off that edge, you're sharing these observations mean so much to so many people. And I've had this said to me about many of the videos that you put up there. It's like he spoke at the right time.
Mm.
And people don't understand that. And I know you get that. I know people say that to you all the time.
I
But
appreciate
it's just the fact that, if you could go and get that one, if you could reach one person,
it. Yeah.
what you've done is magnificent, and people don't get that, because again, we are a society of numbers. I'll never forget when I was interviewed on StreamYard, which is what we use for our communications now, our broadcasting. So they're all talking about numbers, this and that. I get 100,000 viewers all over the place and all over the world. Well, Tim, how many, what's your average? 200, 300, maybe. I'll probably get more because you're on tonight, but normally I don't get that many. And they were like, well, don't you want more? I said, no, because I think that the shows that I put out are going to the right people at the right time.
Mhm.
It's like I'm targeting. Instead of being like a superficial uh uh guy that has all these subscribers and numbers and all that. I'd rather get 4 people that really want to hear what I have to say or what my guest has to say.
Right.
And
Yeah.
to me, that is far more important than anything else that, any numbers out there. And again, I think that's what you're doing. I think you're nailing it right on the head with so much of that stuff. And
No.
you're the guy, and I'll tell you what, because, me, I recently just my brain just like shut right down not too earlier this week with something that happened. And it's like, wow, I forget what one of your latest posts were, and I was like, wow, okay, that's right. And then I was reading a book about Buddhism, and it's called.
Oh,
He has I can't think of the guy's name, Timber something, and he has a podcast called Buddhist Boot Camp, and wow, all of a sudden that really just like opens your mind up, and how you have to live in the moment and mindfulness, and
yeah.
try not to go out of your way to like get people, don't let people get upset you. It's
Right.
not, why are you allowing that? Because you're only feeding into them.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything to yourself, you're feeding into them. Why
Right.
are you doing that? And that's what I love about your little, and I'd hate to call them blurbs, bites, whatever you want to
All
call
right. Go
them.
wherever you like.
But I think it's so important that people go, and I always try, whenever I catch one, I always try to share it so that other people can understand that they're not the only ones that are going through that. And it's the same thing that you always put on any your social media, all about suicide prevention. If you have a problem, whatever, there's
Yeah.
always help somewhere. And that too also is really something that really helps so many people, because now it's not just coming from a putz like me sitting in the basement. Now it's coming from,
We're all of equal value when we're trying to help each other out, my friend. The
Exactly.
Titanic's thinking, you don't care who's handing you the life vest, you know?
That's exactly it. Isn't that the truth? You
Well,
know? And when that listen, when the Titanic was going down, I think that those first people that got into those lifeboats were like,
yeah, this was the
yeah,
right choice.
okay, I won the lottery on this one.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I appreciate your kind words, Tim. You know, it's I tell people like I really just go where I'm guided, like with the messages and stuff. And like sometimes I'll be driving and something will just click in my head, and it usually has to do with something I've been thinking about or going through. And I'll just pull over. I'm like, okay, I need to record this now, because
Yeah,
if I don't, it's
gone.
even if I try to do a quick voice text of what it is, it's not going to hit the same way. So
It's
I'll
gone.
just
Yeah,
pull over and just do it then, because I'm like, okay, this is like the message that's being beamed into me, so just put that out there, you know. But you know, it's just I don't know, man. It's just it's tough, you know, and I get why it's tough for so many people, and the perception of well, you're on TV, things are easy. It's like no, that's why I wrote
no,
shivered. I wanted people to realize like yeah, I'm sleeping in my truck some nights because I don't have enough time to go home or whatever. But you know, nothing worth doing is without its sacrifice, and so
I agree.
I don't mind whatever it is I've had to do to get to where I want to be and to do the things that I enjoy doing. What I'm trying to focus on now is doing things I enjoy more and things that I feel bring me more peace and joy. As you know, you talked about Buddhism. I think that one of the best. It's actually one of my first. I think it might be my first Hey Got a Minute video I put on YouTube. Was ties into the theory, the story of the uncarved block, and that like just things are in their nature, the way we're just meant to be. Everything is there, you know, and we often put our human touch on things. You know, we want to carve a wooden sculpture out of a tree. We want to get a big block of marble and carve an angel out of it. Do all these things, and they are beautiful results. But there's so much beauty just in the natural form of what things are. But one of the problems that we have, I think, as humans is that we've been trained to have our expectation of beauty or success or whatever, or happiness has to be up here. We don't realize it's all the things that we've already been given. And one of the videos I did recently was about like the whole, you know, the glass of water, half empty, half full. It's perception. Either one is the same dang thing. But what we're forgetting is the water is the important part, and you've been given exactly what you need. The perception of our reality, how we've trained our brains to think, you know, in an optimist or pessimist way, and both of them can be seen either way, by the way. But the matter that really comes to heart is that we've been given everything we need. You know, we are that uncarved block, but we've been told by our society that we have to do X, Y, and Z to achieve happiness. You can't be happy unless you have this or you look like that, and that kind of stuff is just nonsensical. One of my favorite books turned into a movie was Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, and I mentioned this a lot.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I have this. I love a lot of his books. Were so good. When I was on international, I used to read all the books, so I flew place to place. But one of the quotes from Fight Club that is a conversation with Tyler Durden is um, advertising has us doing jobs we don't want, to make money, to buy things we don't need, to impress people that we don't even like. And I remember reading that and thinking, wow, if that doesn't sum up what our reality really has become and what we're told to do, you know, it's just it's sad really, because that's not what it's about. This life is about our experiences together, and even our own little solo journeys, you know, finding those moments where you can feel small in a big world, I think is really puts things into perspective. Like our struggles, our problems. For me personally, I would often go down by the ocean, down by Narragansett here in Rhode Island, and sit by the ocean at night and just feel small in a big world. I love going hiking, and I like to go hiking where I can get off the path a bit and just be out in the woods or at the base of a mountain and just nobody else around me. And just to feel, I don't want to say insignificant because that's not quite the word, because in some ways I feel even more significant knowing that somehow I'm alive here amongst all of this incredible grandeur and beauty, and that me worrying about having to, you know, pay the electric bill next month, although it is a legit concern, somehow fails to compare to all this that's out there, and that I know somehow things are always going to work out. And so I find a lot of beauty and a lot of comfort in nature, and I feel like Buddhism really speaks to a lot of that. As I you know, am a Christian by self-definition, I guess, because it's not like it was stamped on my ass when I popped out. But we find what works for us. But I
Right.
found such great comfort in Buddhism and Eastern philosophy and Taoism, and some of the writings of Muhammad, and like, and people are like, oh, you can't read that, you're a Christian. Why the hell not? Like, I could, if you look at it, and I get into this a lot too. My hallmark theory about religion is that, like, there's shoebox cards for people that like to laugh. There's just how I feel cards for people that like to cry. There's the mahogany lion they have for people of color and different skin tones. I like to joke that there's those blank inside cards for people that are just blank inside. But no matter which one you buy into, it's Hallmark. It's the parent company. It all still goes there. And I feel like God, goddess, creator, great energy, and whatever you want to perceive or label that person or that spiritual being as, has different prophets, different representatives in different lands of different skin tones and different tongues, speaking to the local people there, but the message is the same. But
It
yeah,
is.
especially in the time when the world was disconnected, we were much more likely to listen to people that looked like us and spoke like us and be like, oh, okay, like this must be the way. And not some foreign person coming to the land and saying, no, it's this God and you guys are all wrong. It's like, well, no, that's not the approach to try to preach love anyway. But I really think if we strip away the BS differences, yeah, some of the prayers are a little different, some of the days of worship are a little different, But even if we look back at like the pagan rituals, we look at the old Celtic rituals, and we look at like Samhain and like the beautiful worship things that are going on in nature are still very akin to what different religions are doing. We just have different ways of talking about it. And it's okay to approach it from different ways because we experience life and we experience the understandings of the afterlife in different ways, but we never have to fight over it. And I think that's where people have a hard time. We can disagree. We can want to see it differently. I heard the analogy once where like two blind men on opposite sides of an elephant, just feeling with our hands, thinking we're on a completely different creature. One's got his hand up the ass, the other's got a hand on the trunk. What the hell is this thing? It's wrinkled. That's the only commonality. But like, yeah, like how do we figure our way forward if we don't know what we don't know? We can only explain things the way we see them. But it doesn't mean that we're on opposite sides. We're just experiencing it differently.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey, we're running out of time, Dustin. So, of course, Dustin, we have to go and we have to let everybody know about
Yep.
a special event that's coming up.
It's shameless self-promotion time, Tim Shaw.
That's right. And I'm going to put it up there and I'm going to let you promote it because why?
All right.
You are Dustin Pari, superstar.
That's something, I guess. So it's April 22nd, and it's going to be yeah, there it is, April 22nd over in Lockport, New York. We're checking out the Western Block, which is recommended by Mr. Tim Shaw himself, and I'm excited to go check it out. I've never been there, but I know Tim knows it well. But I'm excited for this. Multiple buildings, over 100,000 square feet. Like that's a lot of ground to cover. And what's nice is a lot of times you go to events and it's like 60 people shoved in like a 6-room house, and you're like, well, this is fun, but we've got room, we've got ways and means, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun there. So make sure you get your tickets to come hang out with us there.
I think so, and I think you'll enjoy it. I really do, and I'm looking forward to it more than what you know. More
Well,
than
I'll
what
tell
you
you what,
know.
my friend, this is despite all the years we've known each other, our first event working together in this capacity. So this should
I'm
be
kind of
great.
scared. I'm a little scared because, first of all, did you see the size of my head on that poster?
Well, I
That
wanted
is
people to
like
see it. It's beautiful.
people are going to be like, he's not going to be able to get his head through the door. How are they going to have to? Are they going to have to go and open up the double doors to get him in with that head?
My graphic skills are mediocre, but I wanted people to see it. It's a handsome photo. And all I ask out of the whole thing is that we get to go to our top secret restaurant and have chicken. That's all I want is
Yes, we will. That's all. Listen, that's all part. That was part of the contract when we drew the contract up. That
yes,
had
I
that was
believe it was in there.
that's one of Dustin has certain things in his contract. You know how
Yeah.
like rock stars no green M&Ms and all that. Dustin has candy corn, and when he's in Buffalo, he has to go to the super secret restaurant that
Yes.
I took him and Cody to once, and
Delicious.
after that, it's his. I call it Dustin's restaurant
I
now.
can't wait. Chicken parm the size of your head, and they give you 2 slices of it. My God, it's gonna be grand.
Well, you have to do that. You have
Yeah,
to do
I
it.
can't wait.
Hey, how can everybody get a hold of you?
Very simple at dustinparry.com. You can check out the Hey Get a Minute videos on YouTube, youtube.com/Dustin Pari, and join our positivity movement over at Patreon. It's called Monsters, Motivation, and Mayhem, because I like to explore all the things I like. So why put myself in a nutshell? And it's patreon.com/Dustin Pari.
That a boy. Dustin, thank you for being on. Stay on the line there for a couple seconds so I can thank you properly off the air.
Thank you, and
And
thank you to everybody for checking in with us tonight.
oh, it's listen, you know what? It's always a thrill. And you know, if we live closer, there would be mischief.
We'd be in trouble. We'd probably
Oh,
be arrested by now.
we'd be sharing a cold water flat someplace without heat. That's what would happen. Both our
What a
wives would throw us out. It wouldn't be a pretty sight. We'd be very positive, but our teeth would be chattering. That's the way it would work. Hold on a couple seconds, brother. I'll be back. I can't even do my closing. I'm laughing so hard on that one. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Dustin Pari is probably one of my best friends in the paranormal. I always love seeing him. I don't get a chance to see him hardly enough because he's one of those people that really inspires me. And I'm always happy to just hang out with him. And, well, you see what we talk about. I'm telling you, first time we got a chance to sit next to each other in an airplane, they'll never do it again. Delta has a little sign with our pictures on it say, don't let these two dudes sit next to each other on a plane, because what they talk about will scare the rest of the passengers. You've been listening to the Black Cat Lounge. I've been your most congenial host, Tim Shaw, and you are where else? Where the elite meet, next to the dumpster transfer station. Ciao, babies. Take care. We'll see you next week.